Hey everybody, Josh RV Nerd of Bish's RV here, back with your monthly-ish industry update. Compared to last month, it is at least some degrees out today, which feels like a sauna by comparison. So we've got our first month of 2025 under our belt. I wanted to look through, see what's shaking loose, look at some early market indicators, as well as I've been keeping my eye on some various legislation type things and how that may affect the RV marketplace and your general experiences over this next year. Some potentially interesting things shaking loose. There's been several cases of what I'm going to call little baby step victories for the benefit of consumers. And there's a lot more that I wish would be done, but I'm glad to see some of the things happening that are, and we're going to dive into all that. And if you appreciate this information, hit the little share button on this, share it into your favorite little Facebook group. And as we go, let me know what you have to say about the different topics, and let's get going. So this time of year, we are basically right neck deep into RV show season. And there's a couple major events that take place earlier in show season that tend to kind of be looked at as sort of like barometer events to see sort of how things are maybe expected to play out for the rest of the year. Last year, they proved pretty accurate overall. So one of the major ones that people like to look at is the big event that just wrapped up down in Tampa, Florida. There were some weather factors this year where basically what I've gathered from, I've talked to a lot of different people who attended, some who were vendors, some who were working for RV manufacturers, and there's some dealer people that I know down there that are willing to speak very candidly with me as long as I keep their name off the air so they don't get in trouble with their boss. Basically what a lot of folks said is it was unseasonably cold for the Tampa event this year, and one of the days was borderline monsoon rain season. And as a result, attendance was probably down a little bit. And it was, for the most part, viewed very positively overall despite those factors. There were some brands, there were some various Keystone divisions that reported, said breaking their sales from last year, exceeding those sales. Jayco overall reporting pretty good numbers. Brinkley, again, reporting very positive numbers. Alliance setting a Tampa show record despite all the weather and everything. But some of the more basic budget kind of brands struggled a little bit, and that seems to be following suit from last year's trend where people are really beginning to demonstrate based off their buying patterns that they're willing to buy an RV that gives them levels of confidence. And the stuff that's built to just be cheaper every single day seems to be struggling in the marketplace. Although a lot of consumers would certainly like to see lower price tags, they aren't really liking some of the things that are required to get those price tags down. And the brands that are sticking to their guns and staying in a more premium segment seem to be pulling ahead and seem to be winning right now. Another major event that also just concluded recently was the event out in Quartzsite, Arizona, which is more of a gadgets kind of show versus the Tampa RV show is a big, you come here to buy an RV. Now there's going to be vendor booths, but the Quartzsite event is more about vendor related stuff, and that seemed to be really a mixed bag of responses where essentially the displays that put on really nice displays and had lots of products to offer to people said that they had a line of folks standing in front of them the entire time doing really well. And then the booths that kind of phoned it in, those people were kind of complaining that it wasn't as good of a show this year. So it really seems to be the trend is vendors, manufacturers, and I suspect dealers are going to get out what they put into it. And isn't that a weird thing? My own personal experience so far through show season this year has been an interesting shift. I really noticed it at the beginning of last year, but especially prevalent last fall and making a repeat so far this spring show season. The days that people are attending the RV shows seems to have shifted. In the past, any days before Friday, a lot of times your dealerships looked at it almost like a warm-up day. Like a lot of dealers would actually just finish setting up their display signage and stuff on Thursdays and just kind of, get loose and get ready for the next couple business days. And usually Friday is when things tended to break loose. But I have noticed myself, your Thursday, Friday crowds, the traffic has been down painfully, to an extreme degree, whereas Saturday, it's almost like Thursday and Friday, somebody kinked a garden hose, and then Saturday and Sunday, all the customers are spilling out of the thing or something like that. That's a very unceremonious way of demonstrating it, obviously, but you get the idea. So my recommendation, if you really want time to go to an RV show and not be shoulder to shoulder, not be annoyed with the experience, if you can, go earlier in the week instead of later on the weekend. I know later on the weekend is more convenient, certainly, but earlier in the week you have more time, and if you look around and you see a lot of RV salespeople sitting there playing on their phones, you know, or something like that, that's a good time to be able to kind of approach them and go, look, you know, you don't exactly have a lot going on right now. Work with me on this a little bit, put one in the books for the day, and maybe we can both come out of a win from this kind of thing. There's zero financial benefit for me to share what I just did. That's purely for your benefit, and if you appreciate how we continue to have that complete, candid transparency, let us know we're doing a good job for you. And meantime, let's move on. Right now is when a lot of people are seeing their 2025 updated models for the first time. And this, by the way, is the time of year where dealerships probably still have a number of 2024 holdover models in stock. What I'm about to tell you, it's puts you in a really good position to potentially get a hold of one of those holdovers, because holdover models are about to become younger. What I mean here is the model year change is happening earlier this year. In previous years, there was basically a standard set where RV manufacturers essentially had to apply the majority of their model year changes updates and start to VIN number their stuff as basically a 26 instead of a 25. They used to have to do that in like August and September for the most part. And essentially that's being moved up and the window's being tightened. So this year, your big 2026 rollout is actually going to be happening in June, which is, like I said, a lot earlier than it had been necessarily. So RV manufacturers are already in high gear prototyping new things to roll out for that 2026, blast essentially. So mid-summer, we're actually going to see a shift in the model market here, which means most of the new, barely, just came out 2025s that you see right now, those things will become model year holdovers. So dealers right now are really quietly, actively working to flush out their 2024 stock and to get that 2025 stuff whittled down so that summertime they can go bulking up on the new 2026s. Now, I'm sure that there's a lot of other dealer agents from other places that don't appreciate the fact that I'm advertising something right here that could really put you into a better position on, say negotiating a better price tag on a camper. But again, our goal with this is not just to kind of schmooze you into doing something that's beneficial for us. Our goal with these videos that Bish allows me to put out is to put you in the best position possible as an RV consumer. So again, if you like what we're doing, let us know. And in the meantime, some really good news just came down the pipeline for the outdoor industry as a whole. The Explore Act was actually signed in early January, and this is something, as far as I know, it's the first ever outdoor recreation specific legislation done in a bipartisan manner that I've ever seen, and I love that fact. So the Explore Act is going to do a lot of different things. It does things like it extends the free park passes program, so like kids and their families can go and enjoy like national state parks, things like that. It's designed to like help improve accessibility on public trails. So like if the wounded warriors, the veterans, things like that, who maybe have a mobility limitation, allowing them to more easily access the public fishing and trail grounds and things like that. And just a bunch of other things are included with this. It's really cool to see because like this channel is very RV specific, but the outdoor industry as a whole, hunting, fishing, tent camping, things like that, it's a $1.2 trillion industry that represents over 5 million jobs supporting it. So seeing large-scale national legislation, I think, really helps bring to the forefront that this really is a really well-loved and respected American pastime that's not going to go away, and to see development and investment into that for future generations, personally, I think is just really, really cool. Something else that might be coming down the pipeline is the Travel Trailer and Camper Tax Parity Act, I think is what it's called. Basically, this is something to correct a wording error on the previous Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Now, the Parity Act that I just mentioned, it's still just a bill up on Capitol Hill, as our friend from Schoolhouse Rock taught us. It's not official yet. But what this means is potentially something that could lower RV pricing by reducing dealership operating costs. Now, it's not a guarantee. Let me explain. So, all this inventory that you see behind us, most dealerships have what's called floor planning. Basically, dealerships have effectively an open line of credit where they add a camper to it and then subtract it when it sells. And if that camper doesn't sell quickly enough, they have to pay interest on that loan value to their lender. That's called floor planning. There was a wording glitch in a previously enacted act, which prevented a lot of RV dealers from being able to deduct all of that interest generation from their taxable values, which basically meant dealer operating costs unintentionally went up. And the fact is, at the end of the day, all costs roll downhill, eventually expressed at the consumer level. So if something costs a vendor more money, which costs a manufacturer more money, which costs a dealership more money, at the end of the day, the person who it really costs more money is you, the consumer. At the end of the day, the way it washes out, it's really not the manufacturer or the dealer that's technically footing the bill. It tends to be the consumer public. You're the ones actually putting the money into the system after all. So, in theory, what this will do is allow dealerships to resume deducting 100% of the interest on their inventory that is generated. If the dealership's operating costs are lowered, in theory, they would be able to potentially pass that on to a client. Now, I'm not going to sit here and insult you and say that every single dealership's going to do that. Certainly some places will, and some places will just see it as an opportunity to pad additional costs, hoping that the general condition of the consumer public has already been set to expect certain price tags. But if enough dealers find a way to reduce their operating costs and lower costs, enough other dealers will have to basically follow suit. It's kind of one of those things where it only takes one person to kind of cross the line for other people to start following. And I do suspect over time it will affect at least some reduction in general RV pricing across the marketplace. At least that's my hope. Again, though, I know that sometimes that's just not the way of the world. And in a major turn of potential events, it seems the California Air Resources Board, CARB, is abandoning their efforts to phase out what's being basically called the diesel truck ban that would be completed by about 2036. The thing is, there's a number of acts that are all kind of interrelated and interacting with one another and taking place all at the same time. And there already was a waiver signed in and approved by the EPA that basically the states that are following the California emissions guidelines would have to phase out all gasoline vehicle sales by 2035 with a progressive, restriction leading up to that. But they didn't get their waivers completed ahead of time, like in their target time frame. And essentially, what the general thing is everyone said, well, the new administration isn't going to do anything. They're going to do everything they can to oppose any of these additional waivers that we were going to have anyway. So they're basically just throwing it away. Now, I've been doing a lot of asking around. How is this going to affect what people have sometimes referred to as the diesel RV ban or the motorhome ban, for the California emissions guidelines states? There's so many pieces of legislation and specific legalese language out there that it's like everyone is like, I don't know exactly. The chassis manufacturers who, like Spartan, Freightliner, those guys, the Ford chassis, who they basically said previous to this, we are absolutely not going to sell, our chassis for, offer them for sale in those states because, essentially we can't. But 10% of their normal chassis production has actually resumed with the intention of being available in those states. So it seems like there are some thoughts that, hey, what we thought was going to be, we wouldn't be able to do business in certain motorhome segments, it sounds like we will be able to now. But everyone's approaching it very cautiously because it only takes one little legal clarification statement to come through to block or allow something like that. So it seems like there is some cautious optimism that regular RV sales and lifestyle activity will be able to resume in the states under the California emissions guidelines, but everyone's really not 100% sure if it's going to go whole hog in like that. And I'm pretty sure in another month or two here it'll be very clear, and then it'll just be another footnote in RV history. And one of those small baby steps in the favor of consumer transparency, consumer benefiting transparency, has been officially concluded over in Oregon, where essentially, at least in the state of Oregon now, dealerships who have additional things like prep fees, freight fees on top of their sale price, at least locally at their locations, have to effectively have a sign added to their price signs that they would normally have. So, by the way, this price is also, additionally, you should expect these additional charges put right there. It's a small step, and it took 6 years for just that little small step to accomplish. But as we've seen with things like franchising laws that I've talked about in the past on this video, when one state enacts something and the language is accepted and put through their legislature, it makes it very easy for other states to basically go copy, paste. Do we want to do this too? And it's already been accepted over here. Why don't we accept it over here? I would really like it if one day the price tag you see on an RV at any dealership anywhere nationwide was just that price plus taxes and tags. If it wasn't, oh, by the way, it's you should expect an additional $2,000 shipping fee and $1,800 get ready package or anything like that. I've seen cases where on a used RV, people have sent me copies of purchase agreements on an $8,000 used RV. Somebody had like over $2,000 of fees applied to it. Just some crazy stuff happens out there. So, hopefully, this is the beginning of a very good positive trend. Let me ask this. This is my opinion, and I always try in my videos here to let you know if something is just my opinion, because I've never felt that I'm an authority. I'll never call myself an expert or anything like that. Let me ask you, how would you rather shop for an RV? Would you rather have the price tag that looks really, really low and attractive and then plus, 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 plus? Or would you rather have what appears to be a higher price tag out there, and then you just know that you have to take care of your state licensing, your taxes, and your tags? How would you rather buy an RV? Let me hear from you. And in a recent, I think it was Motor Trends or something like that report, it seems that for the first time in a lot of consecutive years, interest in purchasing new trucks has actually diminished slightly. It does vary a little bit by like income bracket and age bracket, but overall, the number of people who are actively wanting to purchase a truck has diminished. First time that's happened in a long time. There have been a variety of factors. I'm going to guess it's largely cost driven, whether it's the cost of the truck or cost of fuel or maintenance or insurance or a combination of all those things put together. The reason I kind of want to talk about this is to sort of address, I know there's a lot of different RV manufacturing people who watch these industry update videos and they hawk the comments to see kind of what are people thinking and what the trends are. And it seems like the industry has largely like abandoned to a large degree as a whole the small camper market. That's actually why Bish has come up with its own this little Go Light thing behind us. I haven't even done my official reveal video on that, but we have built our own series of small, lightweight, like SUV or mid-sized truck towable kind of campers, things that have like 2,100 pounds dry weight, a 3,500 pound maximum GVW sometimes, some small, lightweight, affordable stuff, because more and more people are starting to shift back toward SUVs and sedans and away from trucks, and it feels Like, everything in this industry got very large and very heavy and very expensive, and I hope RV manufacturers are keeping in tune with the fact that not everybody always wants to have a half ton, a 3/4 ton, a dually to tow around an RV. So I'm hopeful some RV manufacturing people catch on to this and realize we need continued development in the small, lightweight, affordable, sometimes small and premium. Even if it's a higher price tag, is something a lot of people would like, because it feels like as soon as the RV gets small, it has to start getting cheap. And there's a lot of people that have demonstrated, whether it's like people who are purchasing really high dollar fifth wheels, Alliances, Brinkleys, the bigger Jaycos, they've demonstrated they will pay more for a solid product, you know, if the quality and the construction of it is there. But that trend hasn't seemed to follow down into the small camper market as much, and hopefully enough people will pay attention to that. Would love to see it. Let me ask you, the public, so that we can feed this back to the manufacturers. Would you be interested in RVs that are smaller but still nicely equipped and well built, versus, you know, the smallest RVs always being the cheapest, least expensive things possible? By the way, if you're curious about that little Go Light series that I mentioned right there, stay tuned to the channel. Very, very soon after this, I'll be capturing and recording some information, letting you know all about those, with my normal deep dive full video tours to follow on those. But in the meantime, moving on. Moving over to what I've started calling the market analysis section of this video. Going to be a little more brief. Basically, there's been no major shifts or anything like that compared to if you've been watching this in the previous months. Like last month was the first month in a long time that new RV sales actually were higher than the same month in the previous year. That has once again gone back to our most recent new RV sales month is down versus the month before that, pretty much to the surprise of nobody. Overall, RV sales as a whole on a rolling 12 months is down about 7.6%. That is not as bad as I think some people projected, but it is lower than, or there were still some parties thinking, oh, the sales were actually going to increase. And I don't think any reasonable person was really projecting or expecting that. Don't get me wrong. Any sales-based organization would have been very happy to see that, but I don't think anyone was really seeing that being read in their tea leaves. The thing is, I'm hearing, you know, so the new RV market is basically holding exactly where it has been. There's no real surprises or shakeups there, where motorized has just been bleeding market share. Trailers are up, fifth wheels are down, and everything else really seems to be struggling a little bit. But I'm seeing just the stupidest reports coming out to consumers as it relates to the used RV market that I want to try to clear up for you. And I swear what happens is there are people who, they see just a very small amount of information and they just crank out some like blog post or listing or something like that. But it's like I've seen 2 or 3 outlets basically do the same thing, so it makes me think that they're all cheating off the same test. I don't know. But I keep seeing these headlines like, used towable values plummet while motorized soars. What's really going on here? Let's take a look at some charts. If we start with the towable charts here, I don't know that I would really necessarily say the towable values have plummeted. These stats are always lower this time of year. Values, especially in the used market, really tend to follow the temperature of the the environment, basically. And I mean that in a literal sense. I don't mean like the business temperature. I mean the literal weather temperature. And during the colder seasons, the used values do tend to creep down. And then usually around March, especially April, when the majority of your parks that do have to close for weather-based reasons open back up, you tend to see those values creep back up. Supply, demand, basic things. But it's like any time somebody who writes a blog can make something aggrandized and look super ugly and awful, they're looking to do it every time because it gets quick eyeballs, because it gets quick looks. That stuff drives me nuts. Just tell me the facts, please. Used towable values are basically holding pretty flat. I think they're down slightly from last year, but nothing major. When you look at the used motorhome values, you take a look at the chart, you see how the blue bar spiked right up. Well, the used motorized market is significantly smaller than the towable market, and the cost of a motorhome on average is significantly more than a towable RV. So it only takes a couple diesel pushers coming through an auction block to screw up the numbers real awful bad. And I screwed up my own phrasing real awful bad right there with numbles, which I'm not even sure what that is. Number troubles, maybe. Actually, I think that's what I was trying to say. Whoa, a new nerdism just got invented over here. Anyway, so no, the used motorhome market, it's not like used motorhomes are all suddenly more and more expensive. There was just a handful of really high dollar things that ran across an auction block and screwed up the numbers a little bit, and then somebody decided to get a hold of those and write a scary blog. Everything is basically the same it has been for a couple months. Nothing magically changed overnight until the campgrounds open. Frankly, I'm not going to expect a lot of that to change. And in my experience, this is actually a really good time to potentially consider getting a hold of a used RV. I know that especially like in climates like mine where it's snowy and it's cold, you can't exactly use the RV right away. But you have this cool little window right here where, the demand hasn't exploded. Dealers have taken trades over the winter. There's usually a really nice selection of used stuff available right now that you can take advantage of. And, as the market picks up, as things start, going to town, it seems like those used prices have a way of creeping back up. So if you do choose to get something now before the campgrounds open, you don't have to wait in line, you don't have to miss a day of camping, and you can benefit from a better selection. But it also means that you can't use the RV right away. You're paying for it when you can't use it right away, and you might have to find a place to store it. But that same problem is going to represent itself back this next fall or spring. I'm not trying to push you into buying anything right now. I'm not a commission sales guy. I have zero financial benefit whether you do or don't. I'm trying to provide you with information to let you know when is a good time for you, what are the market conditions. And this time of year, that usually is something that I've seen. But when is the best time to buy is always when it makes sense to you and when you're ready. I have 3 tips of my teeny weeny beanie cap here to 3 different organizations. First is Giant RV out in California, another RV dealer. I absolutely salute what you're doing here. Basically, through the months of January through March, anyone who decides to make a purchase with them, they're making a donation in the buyer's name to California Wildfire Relief Funds. Wildliar. Nope. That didn't, dang it, I turned something good into something ugly. Anyway, but I think it's really cool that they're doing that in the people's names, not for their own glory. That's just a really cool, classy move. Also, speaking of that, every single year, East to West RV, they do this big food drive for the benefit of a different local, local area charity, effectively. And this year they raised something like almost 2,300 pounds of food for this, which exceeded what they generated last year, which I think is just a really cool way that they're giving back to the people in their community. And Mike Thompson's RV, a family-owned RV outfit, which I'll always respect anything. Coming from a family-owned organization myself, my start in this industry, I've always respected that. Mike Thompson's RV is a family-owned place that has 4 stores out in California, and they've donated $50,000 through the American Red Cross for California wildfire relief. So again, much respect to those of you who are giving back to your communities. I think that you set an absolutely sterling example for the rest of us. And this last bit, even I can't make this stuff up, guys, and I've got a pretty wild imagination. There's a very real chance that at some point this year, you could just be going down the highway and pulling up next to you is a red, white, and blue motorhome driven by none other than Hulk Hogan, ladies and gentlemen, advertising his Real American Beer brand that apparently he has that I was unaware of before. And what I'm sure is an excellent tax write-off by the Hulkster. I can just only imagine sitting at a stoplight and looking over, and he's like, "Let me tell you something, brother. These 28-inch pythons like a real American beer at the end of the day." Or pulling into a campsite, and there's Hulk Hogan. Could you even imagine? I don't care how silly it ever is. Those old WWF legends will always live rent-free in my silly little child brain. So, on that very unconventional note, if you feel like we've given the big boot and the atomic leg drop to the to the news section of our industry today. Leave me a little note. Let us know that you appreciate what we're doing. Subscribe if you're new with us, and know that, again, even if it's not beneficial for us as a sales-based organization, we continue to put that information out. You know, I couldn't do the things that I do if it wasn't sponsored by the leadership of our company. So if you like how, you know, they allow us to put this out there, like tell you, hey, here's the market conditions, here's what's real, here's what not. Hit that subscribe button, catch us on the next one. Whether you're thinking of shopping with Bishes or not, we don't care. We just want you to be in a good position to have a good experience, however we can be conducive to that. And until next time, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone. Oh yeah. Except that was Randy Savage.
Oh yeah!
I don't care. The Mega Powers between the two of them. Anybody remember the Mega Powers or the Legion of Doom?